There's nothing I like more after a great lunch than enjoying a great Wisconsin microbrew. We're here on the road today with WhoKnowsTheStuff.com in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. We're at the Grumpy Troll Brew Pub and Restaurant. It's a very unique story here. We're going to tell the story today of the Grumpy Troll, and Doug, the owner of the company, is going to explain to us how they incorporated solar PV panels into the building, an historical building built in 1916, to provide electricity to run his brew process and his restaurant. And some of the electricity goes back out on the grid. Let's go talk to Doug and let him tell the story about the journey that got him here today.
I didn't really know anything about solar electricity. I didn't know anything about the system, how it worked or anything. About 18 months ago now, I was downstairs bartending one night, and a good friend of ours here at the Grumpy Troll, who's also an electrical engineer, was having a beer downstairs, and we started talking about it. We started talking about the costs and the different benefits you can get out of different systems, because he is familiar with them. We had a meeting. We talked about what would be involved in the installation. We talked a little bit about the cost of the installation, and we decided to just kind of baby step this thing forward and find out what all the details were, what were the requirements that I had to meet, and how we would pursue it and move forward with it. So I had to go to the village. I had to go to the village administrator and ask him what if any rules, regulations, laws would apply to me installing a system on my building. Also, our building was built in 1916, and so it is in the historical district. So there is regulations involved with anything you do with a building in the historical district. From there, the next thing we had to find out was about what tax credits would be available from the state and from the federal. And of course, one of the other things I had to do in all of this was I had to contact my accountant and give him all the information, get his professional impression of getting the tax credits and everything. In the middle of all that, I had to go to the bank and convince them of what the project was, it was going to be worthwhile, and I needed to get a loan from the bank. So the cost came out at just under $54,000. I just use $54,000 as the number I generally tell people. And we did get 30% credit from the federal government, which I'm still waiting for that check, and I'm hoping it's going to come. We get a 25% credit from the state, and then you do get the depreciation amount, which will defray a lot of the cost for installing the system. So when you're looking at $54,000, you can drop almost $30,000 of that right off the top. And you can do the federal two different ways. You can either apply for a tax credit from the federal, or you can just apply for and receive a cash grant. And that's the way that I went. That's the way that I decided to go for it. So you can talk to your accountant about it, and you can decide how you would want to do that. But for me, because I had the loan and we had the deal worked out, I just needed to go ahead and get the money. I'll just turn around and make the payment to the bank. The process from my initial discussions with my friend who was telling me about how this would work until we actually got down to the nuts and bolts of installing a system was approximately 6 months. A lot of that involved just my general ignorance of how any of this was going to work. So I had to educate myself, researching on the internet, of course, the state side of it, the federal side of it, also the electric company. Because the electric company does buy my electricity that I produce, I needed to find out all the details about how much they buy, how they buy it, how does it all really work, And so now, of course, I know all that. But yeah, so after 6 months, we had gotten all the answers we needed, and then we went forward with the installation. And once we got going on the installation with just a few minor hiccups, the installation went very well. We have 38 solar panels on the roof. It's in 2 rows. And I don't want to get technical details because I don't understand it, but they're all linked together. And then they actually those solar panels produce DC electricity. That DC electricity comes down here to our pizzeria, where we have a machine called an inverter. The inverter converts DC electricity to AC electricity, which is the electricity that we all use every day for our lights and our TVs and everything. So it goes from the inverter out to a separate meter. That meter measures exactly how much electricity my system is producing. And then the local utility here in Mount Horeb purchases that electricity from me, and what they generally do is they don't send me a check, they just credit my bill for the Grumpy Troll every month. I get a credit that shows up on my bill. We project a repayment on the system in probably less than 10 years. depending on how the depreciation goes and the federal tax credit goes. But I'm pretty confident on that stuff, and I think it's going to work out well. So I think in less than 10 years we're going to have a complete repayment of the system. The other beautiful part of this kind of system is it doesn't require me to do anything. Once it's installed, it just sits up there. It's completely passive. It produces electricity. I don't have to do anything. The next thing that we'll look at is putting in a solar hot water system. We use a lot of hot water here at the Grumpy Troll, and that is the kind of system that, again, will save us a tremendous amount of money over time. There's also a lot of tax credits available for a system like that. So there's a lot of different things available. You know, you don't have to go with a solar PV system right off the bat. The hot water thing is a great idea, and that's probably the next thing we're going to pursue. I would recommend this for just about any business that might have an interest in doing something like this. I mean, there's a lot of information available on the web. There's a website called whoknowsthisstuff.com. They have a tremendous amount of information. It's easy to understand. It's presented in a way that a person like me could understand from just starting from scratch on learning all this stuff. Once you work your way through the process, and hopefully if you're watching this video, you're getting some ideas about what I went through to make it easier for you. But it's not that complicated of a system. It takes time to work your way through it, but like I said, once you get all the information you need, the installation happens extremely quickly, and once the system is installed, there's no muss and no fuss for you. It's just passive, totally passive. The Grumpy Troll, because we installed the solar PV system, we were able to apply for and become a member of Travel Green Wisconsin, which is another website people can check out. They can go there, they can find out businesses like the Grumpy Troll. Are they doing, things moving forward to help the environment? They have a listing of restaurants, all kinds of businesses that are involved in this, and so the Grumpy Troll Restaurant and Brewery is a member of Travel Green Wisconsin as well, and we're proud to be a member of that.
Well, that about wraps up our time here today in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. I'd like to thank Doug and his staff at the Grumpy Troll Brew Pub and Restaurant for their assistance in helping create this production. Doug has a very unique story to tell. Doug has taken a modern technology such as solar PV and incorporated it into a building built in 1916. He explains to a T the process that he had to go through, the obstacles that he had to overcome, the cost, the taxes, and the rebates. I couldn't thank Doug enough. For all things renewable, check back to whoknowsthisstuff.com. And as always, who knows this stuff? We do, simplifying renewable energy.